Morning and welcome. Good morning and welcome to Munich's Zebener Street live training here of the Bayern professionals. We are in the last qualifying break of the season, therefore a bit of a diminished squad. Nonetheless, plenty of big names here on the pitch. You can see them from the right. Well, Boateng was there, Philipp Lahm, Rafinha, Franck Ribéry, Xabi Alonso is on the pitch. Tom Stark and Sven Ulreich, the two goalkeepers, Juan Bernat and Kingsley Coman. I already saw they just came out. And also a couple of youngsters from the reserve team, Erdal Öztürk, Karl-Heinz Lappe, Raphael Obermeier and Felix Götze. All here at this public training session. Again, a lot of players missing from the squad, traveling with their national teams. Yesterday, in an interview, Philipp Lahm said it's probably not a bad time, despite the fact that Bayern Munich, of course, were enjoying great momentum in the past weeks. Just to, for the national team players traveling, to clear their head, to gather new experiences, to see something else, see different surroundings, play with other teammates. Philipp Lahm said that can be quite refreshing. And of course, with the players here, it's all about, I suppose, mentally switching off for a couple of days here, not having to prepare for a game, just being able to enjoy a few days. And you can see it here, Franck Ribéry making fun of Tom Starke. It is, of course, I would say, more relaxed atmosphere than usual at the training facilities. Again, of course, we're talking here about a Tuesday morning training session. It's probably not unusual that the players are enjoying this little rondo exercise, as we're calling it at Bayern now ever since Pep. Here are some of the youngsters. Karl-Heinz Lappe just touching the ball. Felix Götze, the blonde younger brother of Mario. Here's Kingsley Coman. As you know, in the center it's Raphael Obermeier. Even some of the assistant coaches joining in here, at least for this exercise, in the absence, again, of big numbers. How many players do we have? 13, 14 players overall on the pitch. Let's see what the coaches have planned for today. Again, public training session, one of the last opportunities to see the players in action. Of course, there are regularly training sessions at Bayern Munich that are public, but those are usually, particularly in busy weeks, only the day after a competitive game, and that means that the players who were fielded the previous day or evening usually don't come out onto the pitch but train individually. And then we usually see a very small training squad, of course, on the one hand, and also a squad with the really big names missing. That's fortunate today to have so many star players on the pitch. Might be one of the last opportunities again to see the Alonsos, Philipp Lahms, Franck Ribéry's, and so on and so forth in training here. Philipp Lahm, Xabi Alonso. Who knows how often we'll be able to see them in a training session after they announced their retirement. Get a 2-week break now, with plenty of German and other internationals traveling the world before we have a very exciting April lined up with 9 games, 9 competitive matches that Bayern Munich have to play. Very exciting stuff there. Of course, in the Champions League, Bayern Munich play Real Madrid. In the DFB Cup, Bayern Munich play Borussia Dortmund. These are only some of the fascinating duels that we're looking forward to in April. Opportunity to regenerate. Opportunity, of course, also for and that's what these national team breaks and these qualifying breaks are always good for some of the injured players to regenerate. And of course, we're keeping an eye out on Boateng there, who celebrated his comeback a week ago, didn't play on the weekend now, but should be fit and ready for action when this national team break is over. The month of April starts on April 1st, and that's not an April Fool's Day joke, with a home match against Augsburg. Bayern Munich clear favourites to win that. Again, that's on the 1st, and only 3 days later, Bayern Munich play the next Bundesliga game, April 4th in Hoffenheim. Usually, and statistically in the past, definitely a match in which Bayern Munich are favourites to win, but Hoffenheim, whose coach Julian Nagelsmann was just voted German Coach of the Year, are certainly up and coming, looking very good for at least the Europa League next year, if not Champions League, after they beat Leverkusen on the weekend. So 1st of April Augsburg, 4th of April Hoffenheim. 4 days later again, on the 8th of April, it's Borussia Dortmund on Saturday, a home game in the Allianz Arena. That's in the Bundesliga. Then, next home game on Wednesday, April 12th against Real Madrid. 3 days later, an away game, a tough away game in Leverkusen. 3 days later, again, the second leg in Madrid of the Champions League quarter-final. Then, 4 days later, Saturday, the 22nd of April, it's Mainz in a home game. 4 days later, again, another home game and another super game. They're very exciting to watch. The DFB Cup semi-finals against Borussia Dortmund, and then finally another 3 days later on April 29th, it's Wolfsburg. After that, Bayern Munich might be able to catch a breath there, but it's football galore for the Bayern fans, and of course Bayern Munich looking very, very good in recent weeks. The players particularly happy last weekend, or this weekend, with Thomas Müller scoring the match-winning goal. Good for his confidence. That's kind of the last thing you need right now to work. You want to improve the last little details, fine-tune the team spirit, the team cooperation, and of course when you have a player like Thomas Müller, who isn't scoring as much but still playing a good season with 10 assists and 2 goals in the Bundesliga alone. Now when you have a player like that also improving, it's the perfect time for that. Of course, it's been said before a few times, Carlo Ancelotti has this talent of improving his teams at the right time, of having his teams in peak shape at the right time, and this is the right time. April is the month where you decide, you take the final step towards basically qualifying for the big finals. In April, you can qualify for the DFB Cup final. You can make it into the Champions League semi-final. You can probably already win the league. In Bayern Munich's case, there's a real chance that maybe end of April against Wolfsburg, if the gap maintains or is maintained, or if Bayern Munich can even increase it, then towards the end of April, we might be looking at the 5th championship in succession already. Very exciting month coming up, and for this month, it's good for the Bayern players to take a bit of a breath. Let's have a look at a few more minutes of this warm-up before the next exercise takes place. It's good to see Jerome Boateng in good spirits for 10 days now he's been able to train fully with the team. Carlo Ancelotti, he just has a knack of, I think, reintegrating players really well. Franck Ribéry, for instance, seemed a little bit frustrated when he was taken off the pitch. Not the only one, mind you, who seemed a little bit frustrated when he was taken off on the weekend, but Ribéry was frustrated. And I didn't mind that, though. I thought that was actually a very good idea of Carlo Ancelotti. Ribéry has been injured quite a bit this season, last season, quite a lot, in fact. And now he's being reintegrated. Didn't play after he returned to the squad for a couple of games. Came on, started, and came off early, and so on and so forth. You really don't want to use these players too often. Ribéry, Robben, I suppose, Xabi Alonso, the over 30-year-olds. It's interesting that Bayern Munich under Carlo Ancelotti are usually currently playing in a pretty old lineup over the age of 30. Here's Franck Ribéry again joining in the banter on the pitch. Bernat and Ribéry win possession off Jerome Boateng there. Xabi Alonso seems to be enjoying himself in his last couple of months. What a career he's had, and what a goal he still has. What an achievement it would be to win the Champions League with the third club after he did it with Liverpool and Real Madrid, of course, already. He'll be looking forward to playing against Real. Carlo Ancelotti's looking forward to it. I think everybody is looking forward to it. Certainly one of the toughest challenges, but if you're Bayern Munich, if you're Real, if you're Barcelona, point is you want to win it, so you're going to have to play against the best teams anyway, and it doesn't really matter if it's in the quarterfinals or semi-finals. Xabi Alonso knows exactly what it takes. It's another player who is rested occasionally, who Carlo Ancelotti takes off quite often during games. And again, it's all coming together for Bayern. It seems quite perfect. In the last couple of years, the Bayern fans, of course, know this. Under Pep Guardiola, Bayern obliterated all opposition for months. And then in the crucial moments of the season, Bayern just didn't seem to be in top shape. Some of that was in part due to injury problems, but for a certain part it was certainly self-inflicted too, and Carlo Ancelotti seems to be doing an excellent job there in honing his team, in preparing his team beautifully to be in great shape for the end of the season. In an interview with Gigi Buffon recently, he expressed his admiration for Carlo Ancelotti, saying it's a big mistake to reduce Ancelotti to this friendly father figure on the pitch who just is able to bring the best out of the team in terms of spirit, in terms of atmosphere. He said that's not true at all. He's a serial Champions League and Championship winner, a fantastic manager who certainly shouldn't be underestimated, and the Bayern fans are receiving a very welcome taste of this managerial skill. So what we have here, this is an exercise that occasionally causes confusion. It's Team Blue against Team Green, with Team Grey basically joining in whoever has possession. Nope. I'll take that back. It's Grey against Blue. Seems to be going back and forth there, Blue against Green again. I suppose it depends on which team is outside of the box and which team is considered to be inside. Right now it's Team Grey that has to win possession. Now it's Team Green, as you can see, that goes into the center to win possession, and Grey and Blue play together. So constantly changing. Again, a bit of a different exercise compared to the one before. Certainly interesting to watch, though. Kingsley Coman with a lot of problems this season, a lot of injury problems. Certainly nothing like his breakthrough season at Bayern Munich last year. Very highly decorated player who's already won 4 championships at his a young age, and incredibly gifted. I hope he can use the last couple of games of the season, and we still have plenty to go to again show his skills. Every once in a while you can see just his acceleration, his dynamics are truly amazing, outstanding, the speed with which he operates. Again, adding efficiency to that kind of game is always the key for a young player, and I suppose there's not been a decision yet at the club, at least nothing that's been officially communicated yet, but Kingsley Coman, it seems, might stay on at Bayern Munich. Bayern have already signed a few players for the next season, 2 from Hoffenheim with Sebastian Rudi and Niklas Süle. Interesting players there. Süle, young, physically strong centre-back. Sebastian Rudi, a midfielder, a real team leader who was always an interesting player when he was young, a talented man, a hopeful player, but never really quite achieve superstardom at a young age. He's one of these players that obviously need a couple of years before they reach their prime, and Rudi seems to be in it now, an important team leader, if not the team leader and captain at Hoffenheim. And again, Hoffenheim playing certainly one of the most impressive seasons in the Bundesliga right now. Philipp Lahm, you can probably count the games that he still has left in his career. 9 games in April. We'll see how often he plays. Again, Carlo Ancelotti is resting him occasionally. In the last couple of years, we never really saw that, particularly under Pep, who fielded Philipp Lahm all the time, even after he fractured his ankle, and it seemed wasn't really fit enough to play, a busy schedule, but now he's being rested more often, showing a very good performance, a good overall season performance, to the detriment of Rafinha, I suppose you could say, who is playing less this season than he was under Pep. Of course, Philipp Lahm played in midfield quite a bit, opening up that right back position for Rafinha, but Rafinha is a loyal club employee, a loyal team member who realizes he has to be there when needed, doesn't cause a stir or commotion if he's left out every once in a while. You'll see here, by the way, here this is Erdal Öztürk. It's quite fascinating to watch Raphael Obermeier here, how the young players are easily able to slip in here and how they can join in this passing game. Not quite as much probably as the likes of Philipp Lahm and Xabi Alonso, who have this amazing ball handling skill and also the patience and the calm to do the right thing in these situations. But here, for instance, is Erdal Öztürk. We'll see all the others in action. Karl-Heinz Lappe here, one of the strikers of the reserve team, whose coach Heiko Vogel has just announced his retirement about an hour or so ago. Quite a few changes at the club. A new youth academy is being built and will be opened after this season, or for the new season. Hermann Gerland's going to be the head there of the youth academy, or of sports director, I suppose you could say, of youth. That's certainly going to be a good step for Bayern Munich. Hermann Gerland is the youth expert at Bayern. He's responsible for bringing out players like Lahm, Schweinsteiger, Alaba, Müller, Badstuber, and so on. It'll be interesting to see if Carlo Ancelotti decides to hire another assistant. So far, or right now, it's really only Davide Ancelotti who's assisting him, and of course Hermann Gerland. And Hermann Gerland proves, of course, invaluable, particularly, and has proven invaluable for foreign coaches in the last couple of years. He has extensive knowledge of the Bundesliga, of course, knows all the players here. Carlo Ancelotti said recently there's no advantage that he knows Real Madrid for the Champions League quarterfinal because he knows every single team in Europe. There are no secrets anymore in football, he said, but still, I think the expertise of Hermann Gerland in the Bundesliga can certainly help, as well as his good spirits, his attitude towards the game. He's very, very down-to-earth guy, a Midwestern German from grew up or had his football career in Duisburg, among other places, Bielefeld, where you learn work ethics, you learn to stay down to earth and focused and grounded, and that's something that he certainly introduced at Bayern Munich. No surprise that players like Lahm, Schweinsteiger, Müller, Alaba are so grounded, are young players with old heads on their young shoulders, responsible guys, reliable guys, friendly guys. That's also something that Bayern Munich always pays attention to. Educated, polite people. Here are the Bayern fans. Always worth a visit here at the training facilities. It's a bit unfortunate for the many Bayern fans that the Easter holidays only start in 2 weeks or so. During holiday times, we sometimes have a couple thousand fans here at the training facilities, and I always keep mentioning this. The fans who watch this regularly can hopefully forgive me, but I always advertise a trip down here because it's really worth a visit. Maybe we'll see later on just how close the likes of Philipp Lahm, Franck Ribéry, Jerome Boateng are to the fans here. I suppose it's about 20 yards or so away from the barrier. Again, the training facilities are in the middle of town. Easy to get here, and certainly fun to watch. So a couple of user questions. If you have any, then feel free to ask your questions. I'll see if I can answer them. Arjen Robben isn't out today. No real surprises there. Robben is a player who trains individually quite regularly. A man who goes to the limit, who is unbelievably professional in the preparation for games, in the regeneration programs, in just doing everything he possibly can to get into peak physical shape. Manuel Neuer, by the way, also only training individually today. He had to cancel the Germany trip. Boateng, of course, was also a player who Joachim Löw might have nominated, but apparently after a talk with Carlo Ancelotti, Joachim Löw decided not to nominate Boateng, although Ancelotti said he doesn't know exactly what prompted that decision. He just stated that from Bayern Munich's point of view, it makes sense to keep Boateng here. He's not in absolute peak physical shape yet. Ancelotti said he still needs a little bit of time. Again, he was injured for a long time. Last game he really played for Bayern Munich in peak shape was in November, so he'll need a few more days of training, a few more weeks here of full combat football, a full contact football. But after his chest surgery and the weeks afterwards, in which he again was not allowed to go full contact in the training session, he is back on the ball, back in training, seems fit, and we all know highly ambitious. Boateng, Hummels, Martinez, those are three centre backs who are potentially at least all world class, can play on a world class level, have played on a world class level in the past. In the case of Martinez and Hummels, I suppose you could say they're doing so at the moment. Martinez and Hummels really looking extremely strong for Bayern Munich right now, but we all know Jerome Boateng, who is the current German football player of the year, has maybe even more to add. His physical presence, his strength, his passing accuracy, all of these things might still come in very handy for Bayern Munich in the upcoming weeks. While the boys are out of town, or some of the boys, I think it's 10 players that are traveling. Maybe those of you who live in Munich and want to see a quality game of football, I can only recommend visiting the Grünwalder Stadium on Thursday evening, 7 p.m. A highly anticipated Champions League game. The Bayern women's team playing against Paris. I know a lot of football fans are interested in women's football, but don't really consider ever going to these games. It's another thing that I can recommend. The Grünwalder Stadium, the old home of Bayern Munich in 1860, is always worth a visit. Fantastic little stadium, and on a top level, and Bayern Munich against Paris is a top level. Women's football is very interesting to watch. On our website, you can check out an interview with Uli Hoeneß, who talks extensively about that, who says how he's surprised he was when he realized just how good the women are. It's not as fast-paced, it's not as strong physically, of course, but it is tactically impressive football, technically strong football. And again, sometimes you have games where Bayern Munich play a cup match against a second league team, and then you can see the problems that women's football has. There's just not enough teams in Europe, in the world, to consistently have high-level women's football to broadcast. But when two good teams play, Wolfsburg against Bayern Munich was a good example on the weekend. Very interesting game. Unfortunately, Bayern Munich lost that, but I'm sure we can look forward to a similar game on Thursday evening again, 7 p.m. in the Grünwalder Stadium. Bayern against Paris. Tickets are only €5, so if you're in Munich or planning a visit in the next couple of days, check it out. I can only recommend that. Again, beautiful stadium, good atmosphere, hopefully a couple thousand tickets sold already, and we're expecting at least pretty high quality game of football there. Also, I know that the Bayern girls would appreciate every single fan coming here. So we have a couple of questions here coming in from fans. Where's Renato Sanchez? What about Robert Lewandowski? Don't forget, it's a qualifying break. Renato Sanchez is traveling with Portugal. He plays Hungary and Sweden in the next couple of days. Robert Lewandowski traveling with Poland around the world. Javi Martinez and Thiago with Spain. Arturo Vidal really traveling the world, playing in Argentina and in Chile against Venezuela in the next couple of days. Arjen Robben, not training individually, but actually has been nominated for Holland to play against Bulgaria and Italy. So Robben also traveling. Then we have David Alaba for Austria, and the Germans are Mats Hummels, Joshua Kimmich and Thomas Müller, with Boateng and Neuer here. Neuer is another question that a lot of fans are asking. In the last couple of weeks, I'd say 10 days, 2 weeks or so, Manuel Neuer has had some calf muscle issues, and it's not too bad. He can obviously play. It's just that he can't train as hard and has to prevent too much strain on his calf. The last time we spoke to him was, I think, 2 days ago, and he said everything's okay, everything's fine. I'm sure what Bayern are trying to do here now is rest Manuel Neuer for a couple of days, He's going to go through quite a bit of physical therapy, some massages, I'm sure, whatever treatment is best for him, so that he's in absolute peak condition for the last stretch of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe sat out with training for 2 or 3 more days and then attacked next week or maybe towards the end of this week. Here's Franck Ribéry. Beautiful goal there, double pass with Juan Bernat. Again, Ribéry, prime example of what Ancelotti's doing and what he's doing right to get everyone fit and in shape. Nice goal there by Kingsley Coman. Ribéry with massive injury problems last season, couple of injury problems this season as well, and then a careful reintegration of the Frenchman in the last couple of weeks. Again, didn't play every game at all, came off the bench, was substituted in games, not always to his liking, these decisions by Carlo Ancelotti, but I think everyone here accepts after the first emotional moments of disappointment and anger that you have too many players, too many good and strong and particularly now fit players to always field the same lineup. This is Erdal Öztürk, Karl-Heinz Lappe in the background. Some of the young prospects at Bayern Munich, not so much Karl-Heinz Lappe, but Felix Götze, Erdal Öztürk and Raphael Obermeier. Certainly Bayern just extended contract with Marco Friedl, offered him a professional contract, so Bayern always thinking about the future. In the last couple of years has been this famous system of 2 columns, as Karl-Heinz Rummenigge always called it. On the one hand, young players, young German players preferably, either young players from the club regardless of the nationality, or very young German players like Joshua Kimmich, for instance. That's one column for Bayern Munich's squad, and then star players that help. Little break here before this exercise continues. Tom Starke joining in this exercise, watched by Carlo Ancelotti. Again, Davide, his son, on the right, usually responsible for instructing the players what to do, for being very involved in the training session, while Carlo Ancelotti usually stands in the background. Perfect example there, and observes what's going on. He'll keep an eye on Boateng, that's for sure. Here he is. Last weekend, last 2 weekends really, were big steps for Bayern Munich and Carlo Ancelotti to secure the 5th championship in succession. His first Bundesliga championship, could be a championship in the 4th big league for him, after he already won championships with Chelsea, with Milan and with Paris. Now Bayern. Karl-Heinz Lappe, who's the normal goal scorer of the reserve team, misses the target here. Hard to imagine it's the last qualifying break we'll see ever with Philipp Lahm here at Bayern. For years he was always missing, of course, playing for Germany. In the last 3 years we've become accustomed to seeing Lahm and Alonso and Ribéry, of course, here. Ribéry, fortunately, will stay on for at least another year. Not so. Philipp Lahm, here he is. Rafinha, Karl-Heinz Lappe. Lappe again, good pass forward, and Obermeier. Here he is. Misses that target. Obermeier, Öztürk, and Karl-Heinz Lappe, by the way, players who don't regularly train with the first team. Again, it's of course evident here that Carlo Ancelotti needs a couple more players to be able to conduct a proper training session. Felix Götze, on the other hand, a young player who does train quite regularly. Same goes again for Marco Friedl, who just signed a contract. But it's been a while since a youngster really made an impact. Last time we were hopeful, I suppose you could say, was after the 2016 European Championship in these summer breaks after major tournaments. Bayern Munich, of course, always have to integrate a lot of youth players. You might remember Gianluca Gaudino, for instance. And again, as I mentioned earlier, one thing can be said of these young players. Of course, they're all incredibly gifted and talented, otherwise they wouldn't be playing in Bayern Munich's youth. But it is astonishing how well they can usually join in Bayern Munich's passing game. You don't want to rely on them to win games for you, obviously. You do want to give them a little bit of space. You don't want to rely on them to make the other players around them look good. You need players like Lahm, like Alonso, who know when to play a pass, who know how to make everyone shine around them. But players like Gianluca Gaudino, also again Felix Götze in the last couple of weeks, are certainly able to keep up here with the Bayern players. At least in terms of the passing game, physically, it's often a different story. Here, this is Felix Götze. Unfortunately, his brother Mario, diagnosed with an illness, will be out for the rest of the season. Hopefully, he'll be able to return to professional football at the beginning of the next season. Hopefully, he can enjoy a couple more good years at Dortmund. Thomas Tuchel rumored to succeed Arsene Wenger at Arsenal. I think that's quite obviously all just speculation, but it does go to show that Thomas Tuchel has made an impact, that it's not gone unnoticed how he took over from the club icon, from the superstar at Dortmund, Jürgen Klopp, and is playing a very good season indeed. Still in the Champions League quarter-final. In the league, in the Bundesliga, not really a competitive Bayern Munich. They had just dropped too many points, particularly in the first half of the season. But then again, Bayern Munich is such a consistent monster in recording points that any team would be hard-pressed to keep up with the tempo Bayern Munich have been going in recent weeks and months. So it's not really fair, I don't believe, to say it's disappointing how Dortmund have played in the season. And of course in the Bundesliga, in the domestic season that is, and of course when we speak about the domestic season, Dortmund still have a very good opportunity, really, at least in terms of the amount of games left to win the DFB Cup. Only 2 more games potentially for Borussia Dortmund. First one against Bayern Munich, though. That's going to be a really, really fun game to watch. Bayern Munich against Borussia Dortmund in the DFB Cup semi-final on April 26th. Just in theory, if Dortmund win that, then they will have played Champions League quarterfinal, DFB Cup final, qualified for the Champions League through the Bundesliga. That's not a bad statistic at all. And again, in the Bundesliga, it is hard to keep up with Bayern Munich. Since that 1-0 defeat in the 11th game of the season, that's the only domestic defeat Bayern Munich have conceded this year. Bayern Munich recorded and collected 38 of a possible 42 points in the Bundesliga. I think that says it all. When you look at those numbers, it's hard to criticize competitors for not keeping up. Certainly something to do with squad strength, squad size at Bayern Munich, but also with the right attitude under Carlo Ancelotti. Even at the beginning of the season, even in the first half of the season, Bayern Munich were able to grind out results. It wasn't as impressive as it has become. I had the opportunity to talk to Hermann Gerland in London prior to the second leg Champions League round of 16 game against Arsenal, and I asked him what the coaches changed. Here you go. This is just a little nice little example of just how popular Hermann Gerland is here as well. The Grünwalder Stadium, by the way, is where Karl-Heinz Lappe here on your left and the reserve team play their home games. The Bayern reserve team fans, and there's quite a few of those, call that the Hermann Gerland Kampfbahn. Basically the Hermann Gerland fighting lane is again the nickname of the Grünwalder Stadium, because again he managed to develop so many players, had so many games